Okay, hi. Yes, as Hideko said, I'm Maya. I'm a journalist here in New York, and I'm a fourth generation Yonsei of partial Okinawan descent. So my grandmother was born here in the United States shortly after her parents immigrated from Okinawa. And most of what I've learned about Okinawa, I started learning from her. And so recently I wrote a story about the desecration of remains in Okinawa for the nation, and I'm going to read part of that piece to you guys. And if you'd like to read the whole thing, it's at thenation.com.
Oh,
yeah.
What issue?
It was online. It's not in print, but it's online at thenation.com. If you go to like the world section. One Sunday in October, Takamatsu Gushken dug up a femur. It was one of several exciting finds that fall. By the month's end, he had uncovered the phalange of a foot, 2 fibulas, and a lower jaw, too. He rushed to tell the rest of his volunteer group, Gamafuya, which means cave diggers in the Okinawan indigenous language of Uchinaguchi. The bones confirmed what Gushken had known all along. There, in a tract of forest in the southern city of Itoman, Okinawa, lay the remains of the victims of World War II. As November began, Gushken returned to the site to find the forest had been clear-cut. We only work on Sundays, he told me. When we went to the site on Sunday, November 1st, we found that the area of the forest where we were working was gone. 1 week after that, Gushken encountered a no trespassing sign. The site had a new owner, a local gravel and sand company, and a new name, Kumano Mine. The company had no contract at all, Gushken explained. But local mining outfits had been keeping track of the news. In April 2020, the Japanese Ministry of Defense submitted a revised plan for the construction of a U.S. military base in the bay off the shore of the Henoko district of Nago City, complementing the existing Marine Corps base Camp Schwab. The construction, which was announced in 1996 and was supposed to be completed by 2014, would require dramatically more landfill than once thought. In the forest where Gamafuya saw a chance to return the dead to their families, the mining company saw an opportunity to sell massive amounts of earth to a pair of big spenders, the Japanese Defense Ministry and the U.S. Department of Defense. While the original land reclamation sites for the base were located in the northern part of Okinawa and on mainland Japan, the expansion seeks land from the south of Okinawa, known for hosting much of the fighting during the war. About 70% of the earth is to be sourced from Itoman, a city that once hosted some of the bloodiest episodes in the Battle of Okinawa, which stretched from April through June 1945 and killed more than 100,000 Okinawan civilians, about a third of the island's population. To this day, the ground in Itoman is packed with remains. It's a sacred place where the families of war victims visit to pray, Gushken said. If the plan proceeds as written, the U.S. military base will be built on a foundation filled with the bones of the war dead. The base at Henoko Bay requires so much landfill because it is being built in the ocean. Okinawa, a prefecture comprised of an archipelago with an eponymous big island, already holds 32 U.S. military installations on its combined 877 square miles. Most are on the main island, where the U.S. military occupies 15% of all land. Officially, the new base is a replacement for the Futenma Air Station, which President Bill Clinton promised would close within 5 to 7 years of a 1996 joint announcement. But critics have long been skeptical that the base at Henoko will take the place of the old air station, both because its completion remains uncertain and because its intended capacities exceed what Futenma has now. Local architect and activist Makishi Yoshikazu describes the Henoko base plan as a hat trick in which 3 new facilities, a military airport, pier, and combat aircraft loading zone, will be rolled into one. Although it's called the Futenma relocation, it's not a relocation, he said. It's the construction of a new base. With Futenma still open, the base construction is delayed, in part, because the Japanese government needs more landfill for ground reinforcement work. Drilling surveys completed since 2014 have revealed that the seafloor off the shore of Henoko is soft as mayonnaise, making it too weak to support the planned base. According to Hideki Yoshikawa, an anthropologist and the director of the Okinawa Environmental Justice Project, the Japanese government's 2014 plan was to drive 2,700 sand pillars into the seafloor. That number has since increased to 71,000. The new scheme is legally dubious, too. The site, now called Kumano Mine, is within Okinawa Sanseki Quasi-National Park, a property designated for protection by the Japanese central government and maintained, in part, by the prefecture of Okinawa. Next to the Kumano Mine is Konpaku Noto, or Konpaku Memorial Tower, a stone monument where 35,000 bodies were interred after the war's end. After Gushiken approached local media with his findings in November, the Environment Department of Okinawa Prefecture ordered a pause to the development, but the reprieve appears to be short-lived. After a delay of about a month, the mining company submitted a new plan for development to the city of Itoman, and the city notified the prefecture of its approval on January 20th. The prefectural government is reportedly ready to accept the plan as well. On January 25th, the Japan Times published a scoop that enraged peace activists. The Japanese Ground Self-Defense Force and the U.S. Marine Corps reached a secret agreement in 2015 to station an amphibious unit at the Marines' Camp Schwab in the Henoko district of Okinawa Prefecture. The plan has been suspended due to the impasse between Okinawa and the Japanese government over the planned relocation of the Marines' air station, Futenma. The Ground Self-Defense Force, however, has yet to give up the plan. The amphibious unit had long been a cause for concern to opponents of Japan's remilitarization. Japan's U.S.-imposed constitution forbids the country from maintaining an active military, but increasingly hawkish national governments, including those of former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe and now Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga, have chipped away at this prohibition. The United States has largely supported them. We were already imagining that the new Henoko base is not only for U.S. forces, said Yuichi Kamoshita, a Buddhist monk who works with Gushiken and who organized a petition to protect the remains at Itoman. Despite the revelation of the Japanese Self-Defense Force's intent to use Camp Schwab, and almost certainly the new base as well, the project is still regarded as an offering to the United States. In exchange for the presumed protection of the U.S. military, Japan is footing the bill for the base construction, allowing the U.S. to expand its network of military installations at minimal cost. Local and international opponents believe that the influence of the U.S. government could stop the construction. With the Biden administration seemingly more inclined to focus on indigenous issues in its own country, connecting these issues in the framework of indigenous rights may be a good idea, Yoshikawa suggested, pointing to Biden's nomination of Deborah Haaland as Secretary of the Interior. Gushiken said that he expects to see solidarity from Americans when they learn about the use of human remains for the landfill. If they hear this story, they will realize that this is a humanitarian issue, and they will raise their voices together against the plan. While we chatted on Zoom, he scribbled on a piece of paper and held it up to the camera. In all caps, it said, May Howland. He found the name, or names, written on a GI's mess kit recovered years ago during excavation at Hacksaw Ridge. Gushiken brings artifacts to classrooms for peace education. I show that mess kit to kids and tell them that not only Okinawans died during the war. In addition to Okinawan and Japanese, American people's blood and Korean people's blood were mixed into the Okinawan soil. But to Gushiken, education is a secondary goal. If we can find a family member of this May person who is still alive and would like to have the mess kit, I would love to return it, he said. For the nearly 40 years that Gushiken has pursued his work, his objective has been to identify artifacts and remains and return them to the families of the deceased. The bones that Gushiken discovered in the fall are still in the ground at what is now Kumano Mine. As the digging work had not been finished, the bones have not been collected yet, Kamoshita said. Gushiken has appealed to the Okinawa Defense Bureau, asking its representatives to visit the site and see the remains for themselves. Still lacking a definitive answer, he plans to go on hunger strike in front of the Okinawa Prefecture Government Office building starting March 1st. When the Defense Bureau decided to collect earth and sand from the southern part of Okinawa main island, did they know that the remains were still there? Ushiken asked. When the bureaucrats demurred, he added, as you were not able to answer, that means you were aware of the fact that remains are there, but still you are trying to go ahead. That means you have lost your human hearts.
Thank you.